What I'm about to say may make some of you in the audience think that I'm an Illuminati shill, but it needs to be said regardless. The Earth is not flat, and it never has been, and it never will be. Alright? People's desire to be right is sometimes stronger than the desire for the truth, which in this case is very much the case. Tests by both flat and round earthers have yielded these same results as long as they were conducted properly, and all of those results point towards the Earth being round. I'd like to talk to you about two of those experiments, falsification and how they're just able to shrug off anything that is put towards them. I'd like to start off with the two experiments. On the Netflix documentary Beyond the Curve, there were two major experiments done. The first one was the Bedford level, and the second one was done with a laser gyroscope. Now the Bedford curve, or the Bedford level, I have something over here that will make it a little easier to understand. The way that it works is that you shouldn't be able to see past the curvature of the Earth. So if the Earth curves like this, then these two spots shouldn't be able to see each other. However, due to atmospheric refraction of light, it's possible for that to happen. For the Earth to curve like this and you to be able to see over here from over here. However, once you go high enough elevation-wise, you are able to get past completely the atmospheric refraction. And when that was done, the two boards that were separated by several miles with their light shine through them were not able to connect because the Earth is not flat. The second one was much simpler, however. It was done with a laser gyroscope used to test the tilt of the Earth. According to them, if there was no tilt in the Earth, or in the gyroscope, then that meant the Earth was flat because that means there was no movement, hence the Earth can't be round. However, they found a 15-degree tilt per hour, indicating that not only was the Earth round, it was exactly as they had been told. The normal route to proving or disproving any hypothesis is the falsification method. The falsification method is about finding holes in a hypothesis rather than finding points that prop it up. This is done because you can find any number of things that support a hypothesis due to things not exactly contrasting properly. But if you can poke holes in it and it still stands up, then you know that it, at least for the time being, is the soundest hypothesis. Isaac Newton had this happen to him. He predicted the motion of the planets, and with Mercury specifically, it was supposed to go a certain way and then it didn't. He tweaked his hypothesis so that he proposed that there was another planet called Vulcan, which doesn't actually exist, but he proposed that it might, and that was the reason for Mercury not going in the pattern that he thought that it was going to. Eventually, Albert Einstein came along with the theory of relativity and proved that that was not the case. You can check that on natgeo.com, hunt for Vulcan, the planet that wasn't there. But Newton's hypothesis is still real science. It was disproven, but it is still very real science because those things can be measured, unlike the conclusions that the flat earthers came to. The justification for why the Bedford level didn't work properly was that there wasn't one. They said that they had enough information that the Earth was flat, that their results not coming out the way that they wanted for that experiment didn't really matter. The laser gyroscope, however, they claimed was influenced by heavenly energies. Newton was still science. His hypothesis was incorrect, but it was still science because it could be measured. You could measure the impact that a planet like Vulcan would have on the rotation and the travel of Mercury and Earth or any planet. You cannot, however, by any known metric, measure the impact of heavenly energies on an experiment. That's why it's called pseudoscience. It's not real science. It's not based on anything that we know to be true. These kinds of conclusions have led flat earthers to the category of just asking questions. Now, asking questions is always good. It's what propels the human mind. However, just asking questions is a completely different thing. Whenever you're just asking questions, you're not asking questions because you want to further an idea or start a dialogue or anything like that. You are only asking questions to intentionally try to undermine the theories that already exist. The two biggest questions that exist revolving flat Earth are, if Antarctica is real, then why aren't there oil companies drilling there? And if the Earth is round, then why don't people fly over Antarctica to get to where they're going? Well, the answers to those is quite simple. However, it is a 5-second question that goes to a 10-minute search. That's the problem with these. The answers to those questions are actually really simple. The answer to the first one is that you can't. It's illegal. There are sanctions in place by most of the global powers that prevent people from going to Antarctica for commercial use, stating that it is to be used only for scientific research as of right now, and up to 50 years past when the latest treaty was signed. You can find that at asoc.org under the article titled Antarctic Oil Myth. The second question about being able to fly over Antarctica to get to the other side of the Earth is also very simple. Whenever you have a map of the Earth, you're making that flat square map out of a globe, and it doesn't fit right. Things are distorted. That's why Greenland looks like it's the size of Africa whenever it's not. And Antarctica is still pretty big, and it's a very barren wasteland. And for 2-engine planes, the planes with like 1 engine on each wing, for those planes, it is regulated that they cannot be anywhere that is more than an hour away from a landable strip for them to land in case of emergencies. And Antarctica does not have an abundance of those. So those are two very simple questions that took that long to explain. And that's the problem with just asking questions. In conclusion, I don't think that these people are idiots at all. Their natural inclination towards asking questions would be of a massive benefit to the scientific community if they were more scientifically literate. They understand poking holes into things, but they don't understand how to fill those holes with their own theories. They only know how to fill them with fake science, things that fit with what they already believe. It's called a confirmation bias. Now, I'm not saying to believe and follow what scientists say blindly. What I'm saying is that you need to test their methods and see what you believe. It's not about what they say, it's about how they came to that conclusion. Thank you.